have been used. I mean, it's basically, for the most part, it's rehashing the same thing. The particular piece of equipment that I think the one that you're talking about has an EMF meter. It's got an EVP recorder built in. Basically, it's got for the most part, it's got like 3 or 4 different things. The particular piece of equipment that I we've been doing that. My group's been doing that for years. I've got stuff that blows that away. But
we have people say they have wormhole detectors. Come on, our very best quantum physicists don't have that. Give me a break. You know.
Yeah, I mean that's don't get me started on that one either. I mean that's how do you detect something that's still so theoretical that science doesn't really.
Exactly.
But anyways, Jill, to answer your question, I don't think that we ever will. I really don't. I don't think technology will ever reach that.
You don't think even in the world of physics?
No, Maria, I agree with you. I think that
maybe not in our lifetime, but
maybe not in our lifetime. But I don't know that it's actually going to be. Now, really, when you think of the paranormal, right, generally most people think ghosts and spirits, right? But I think more general in that and more true to the definition of that paranormal is anything that we can't explain today.
Exactly.
What probably happened within the next probably 5 to 15 years is either the LHC or some of the other large funded experiments will determine that there is the potential for parallel universes, that the multiverse is real. But now, where does that actually play into what we're talking about with ghost hunting and being able to...
that's a long ways off, because first we have to show that a particle can move between those two parallel universes before we move up to the chain to ghosts and cryptids and UFOs and
Even if we prove that, even if we prove that the multiverse is real and that parallel realities exist, how will we ever actually definitively prove that when you die, that's where you go?
Exactly. People actually die.
Yeah. I mean, I have a tendency to believe that, while science may not, ultimately prove one way or another whether it does or doesn't exist, I definitely believe that science is the gatekeeper, and it will walk us far enough to that door with an understanding of, okay, I have a handle on this, and I understand that this is not the way, capital way. And, once you follow that science as far as that goes, then it seems to me you would naturally just have the knowledge that, okay, if science isn't it, then, maybe it's ascension, maybe it's going inward, maybe it's, going back to consciousness, this thing that you can't define, that is intangible, yet it's inevitably, and there's no question that it's there.
Yeah, and we may have to admit that, as arrogant as we can be as human beings, we may not have the brain or perception capacity at this point in our evolution to be able to comprehend some things in life. Yeah, and that's just where we're at in our evolution as a species. That may change 1,000 years from now.
I think that knowing isn't a thinking process, and science is very much of a thinking world.
Very much, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can believe in these things and have experienced them. And we're talking, I think, about two different things. But if you want to go running around saying that you have proof of something, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. But you can experience things that you can't explain.
Exactly.
It's just that, our beef is with people who make automatic assumptions of what they are and then demand that everybody else sort of buy into that same assumption.
Right.
When that's very narrow-minded. And I know we've said this for years. A ghost may not be a ghost. Let's be a little more open-minded about what that experience might be. And could even be something that's generated from, like you said, from within, from consciousness, from the mind.
Yeah, and that closed-mindedness can come from either direction, right? You can have the scientists on one hand telling you, "Oh, that's an effect of the brain.
Right.
That's nothing but a chemical reaction or some sort of hormonal imbalance, or it's an illusion," right? So you have those folks, and then you have the person that is absolute proof that I saw a ghost, and that means ghosts are dead people, and there you go. But anyway,
ultimately, the great mystery is what happens when we die. I think that's what all this really is about. Ultimately.
I think finding our place in that scheme of things. And actually, let's pick up with that point when we come back to the break.
Angioprim can unclog blocked arteries and improve blood flow in all parts of your body. Angioprim is oral chelation. Easy, simple, liquid oral chelation. You take it with juice before breakfast and forget about it. Angioprim works fast, unlike old-fashioned chelation that takes hours. Just log on to angioprim.com. That's Angioprim, ANGIOPRIM, angioprim.com. Angioprim users say they have more energy, more strength, more endurance. Increased circulation and blood flow will make all your body parts work better. Log on to angioprim.com to get more information on how you can get started and start feeling better, having fun, and doing more again. Lots more. Talk to a trained Angioprim consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221. Or log on for complete information. Angioprim.com. That's angioprim.com. Find out how Angioprim can work for Angioprim at angioprim.com.
If your home has hard water and it's leaving white spots, then it's likely that limescale is clogging your pipes. Limescale can cost hundreds of dollars a year in wasted energy and early appliance breakdown. Care systems available at Wave Home Solutions prevent and remove limescale with just a simple filter change every 3 years. There are no salts, chemicals, or magnetic coils. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, just go to bestwater123.
Single, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, first of all, thank you for coming on the air.
You're welcome.
That's number
well,
one.
I need to tell everyone about this after the New Guinea tsunami. I'm
Single, are you there?
Yes, I am.
The New Guinea tsunami. Okay, first of all, thank you for coming on the air. Let's begin. You say at the time of this writing, I am in grave danger. Do you think you're going to be killed?
It's a good chance. I got rid of my homing device, but they're still able. They catch up with me from time to time. And not only do I have to worry about my Trav-T group, that's the group I came back with, I have to also worry about the alien MIM.
You're talking about, you said Trav-T group?
Yes, our travel time group.
You claim to be coming from the year 2063, correct?
Correct. 2063, I'm a paleo ag tech. I'm not a weather tech, I'm a paleo ag tech, and we're trying, in the future, they're trying to change the weather.
What is a paleo ag tech?
It's kind of boring. I find it fascinating, but a brief description is, I was sent back to find the earlier cousins of corn, wheat, tomatoes, things that can survive in a hotter temperature so we can have them back. We'll use them to splice, make hybrids.
I've got you.
Because we need to raise the temperature of the Earth in the future to keep the MIM away. They can't survive in hot temperatures. They need it very cold and dark.
So you're not any part of the MIM. You're from our own future. You're a human from our own future.
Correct.
And the MIM want to cool the planet, as in ice ages that we have had before, to virtually take the planet. The MIM, otherwise known as the Greys, that's what you're saying,
That's
right?
what you call them here, yes. The reason is, it's our parsecs of space is in a third dimension. You have to look at it like maybe a tabletop as the whole universe, and our part of it is in a bowl. We're very unique in our universe, we found out. The rest of the universe, they exist in somewhat of a fourth dimension. The Big Bang happened all at once. Their history has happened all at once, and the universe all collapsed at once. And they're trying to get into the third dimension here, and that's why they have problems staying here. But you've seen them all through history. To them, it's not all through history. It happens simultaneously many times. They've been trying to change it.
All right.
It's kind of a strange concept to grasp. I've tried to explain this to other people, and this is my biggest stumbling block.
Okay, I'm going to try. Now, when did human beings discover time travel?
In the year 2051.
51. So it's relatively new.
Right, correct. And ironically, and same with the weather control, ironically, it is from MIM technology that we got it.
All right, so again, so that we all
the MIM were not aggressive at first.
The MIM are trying to cool the planet.
Correct.
They're actually trying to cool the planet. So the humans, you and your group, are coming from the year 2063, trying to modify the weather and make it warmer.
Right, gradually warming the planet.
So it will be completely inhospitable for the MIM.
Correct. And this is where the time gets to be wavy at best. They can travel through time. They don't consider it traveling through time. When they come to Earth in different times. They can't control that. And we think in a linear line, and this is where you have to study a lot to understand this. They exist in all times all at once. And we are following a linear course. That is right. And that's the only part of the universe is what we live in exists that way. And they want that.
They want our planet, our resources, or they want our, in effect, our dimension, our linear way of living in
right.
time.
We're sure they want the resources as well, but the main reason we feel is that they want the linear aspects of time.
In the year 2063, what kind of government do we have?
It's not a one-world order per se. We do have the UN, which is in charge, but we do have sovereign nations. It would be more analogous to the United States now with different states, but you have a centralized government in Washington, D.C. Although the UN does not have its own armies per se, We do have leaders, and that's who I work for, is the UN. Or I did.
You did. Now, your mission, though not part of the weather group, you understand well what the weather group is doing. They're coming back, I guess, in large numbers. Is that correct?
Yes, they have different cells. They come back all through time, gradually changing
The climate.
the climate, and it's culminating now. We only have...
Well, we have a big argument going on in this timeline about what's called global warming. And the Vice President, as a matter of fact, just made another statement about it. I've got it here today, about the month of June being the warmest in all of recorded history. And he's begging Congress to stop blocking legislation that would begin to affect this one way or the other. And you're telling me that it's not exactly man's industrial current presence that's doing this. I choose to call it, by the way,
in continuity.
Oh, thank you. I see you're a listener.
Well, you are in archives.
Climactic, I call it discontinuity. Discontinuity. And that's just because it avoids the political argument. In other words, obviously, I think most people listening right now would agree the weather is definitely changing rapidly.
Yes, and it'll keep changing more rapidly. You have to go back all through time. We go back and we change it gradually in each era, but since we're getting closer to the era of the MEM, we need to up it more and more. And this is what you're seeing.
It's going to accelerate.
Correct.
Let me ask you about this. In the process of warming the planet, if that's really what's happening, millions of people will die because storms will get tremendously worse.
Yes.
They already are. It's happening now. And here's something I need answered. You're coming back, or they're coming back, the climate team, and doing this is going to kill millions of people. What about the paradox problem? If you kill millions of people to, in effect, give Earth a poison pill so the MIM can't occupy it, then don't you end up doing yourself in through the paradox problem?
We don't see it that way, or they do not see it that way. I've come to see the light on this, but they don't see it that way. They don't see any paradox problems. They have gone back into ancient history, and as they've changed things, and it has not changed the future.
So then that tells us something about the nature of time. You're telling me that whatever you do, it's sort of it's kind of like pushing on something that returns to its original form. In other words,
correct. You have to think of time in think of it as a big loop of string with small loops all around it. On the outside, every minute is another loop, every hour is another loop. This is how we can visualize it in linear time. The loop will go right back to where it, not exactly to where it began, but it will go back to where it began. That's why we have to go through time and make these gradual changes. We can't just do it all at once.
That would make sense.
That's the whole problem with this.
All right.
And I'm not a Tech of time. Like I said, I'm an agriculturist. I find the ancient wheats and tomatoes and seeds that are tolerant of heat, and we hybrid them in the future.
All right. All right. Nevertheless, you're aware of what this
I've been briefed on
climate team is doing, and what is it that turned you against their mission so much so that you're now a rogue traveler?
Well, you have to think of it. This is the best way I can describe it. Think of something that would save you in this time. If you had the ability to time travel, something that would save you, your friends, your neighbors, your family, and you go back 50 years per se, 80 years, and you had a choice of killing all those people to save yourselves and your friends, those people you don't know, their history, they're already dead in your mind.
Correct.
Killing them is not a huge thing. You can sacrifice them to save yourself.
So
you know the paradoxes aren't...
I know, I understand. The justification is that really these people are already dead to them.
Correct. They're ancients. It would be like saying I have to go back to ancient Egypt and destroying millions of the slaves that built the pyramids to save myself. You don't have any connection with those people. It's a very... It's a very selfish thing. I know you think that way.
How did you decide that the morality of that was wrong?
Well, as an ag tech, I've been left by myself. I was up near Mount St. Helens because after the first blow of Mount St. Helens, many of the plants that grew there are tolerant to heat. And being by myself, I've interacted with the populace of this time, and I've got to know them, and I see them as human beings now, not just some ancient history lesson.
Not as a bunch of technically dead people. So
right, faceless people, faceless ancients. The other travtees, the weather techs, they usually are with a group, and they pretty much contain themselves to that group so they can be non-emotional, very detached.
For saying what you're saying on the air tonight, if they could get hold of you, what would they do?
I'm afraid they would kill me. They may take me back to the future, but I'm afraid that they would kill me.
All right. Hold on right where you are. We're far from done. All right, we're going back now to the man who calls himself Single 7, one who is hunted. You're back on the air, sir.
Yes, hello.
I should tell you about a fax I just received, and I will. It's obviously not from your same machine at all, but from an entirely different one. And I don't mean to frighten you, but it just says, Art Bell, imperative to our cause that you get Single 7's location, signed Hunter 12.
I really don't believe that they would send a fax to you, Mr. Bell.
You did?
Yes, I did, but like I said, they're pretty autonomous. They don't interact with the species. They pretty much don't listen to your radio broadcasts. I was off by myself, interacting with people. Some friends of mine told me about your show, and I did fax you, but I doubt that they would. If they could, but I've never heard of any Hunter 12. Single 7 is just a rank.
Single 7 is a rank?
Right. My true name is Jonathan.
Jonathan, what about your own people, the people from your division? You were not in the climate control division, you say?
No, I was not a weather tech.
So what would their attitude toward you be now?
Well, they would be the ones who'd want to kill me.
What about...
Remember, this is a very patriotic war. This is humans against aliens.
I've got you. Well, so my next question is about the MIM, or what we call the Greys. I take it they have a similar attitude towards you.
Yes, of course, because we're trying to exterminate their species.
So you're kind of like the guy who's between, who's got the mob and the FBI after him at the same time.
Correct. A man with no time, my friends have said.
So how do you exist day to day? Do you stay moving? What do you do?
I stay moving. So far, I've had a network of friends who know other people who send me off to other people. And I live as a transient among them.
Kind of like an underground railroad sort of deal.
Underground railroad.
Well, it's an old phrase, yeah. Obviously somebody in your position telling us this story about this war that is going on, and it virtually is a war, I guess.
Yes, it's for the existence of humans.
What can we do?
Here in the past, you can
Here in the past, yes.
you can try to find the Trav-T groups when they come along. You can search out their satellites that they have in orbit. They do have them shielded, but our shielding technology isn't that great. They do give off radio emissions that can be found. Like I said, I'm not a tech, but I do know of all these things.
Can you give us a general idea of how they're changing the climate, how they're warming the climate?
It's done with EMP pulses, some sort of microwave EMP pulses. And they find tectonic joints or tectonic weak spots, and they pulsate these things. And what they're trying to do is create more volcanism. Now, sometimes it creates...
It's been very seriously on the increase worldwide.
And aware of it here in the Northwest. I wasn't aware of it.
Frankly, a lot of geologists are at a loss to explain it.
Is it happening all at once?
Mexico, Sicily, Italy. I could go on and on and on and on.
These things are all happening at once.
Rumblings under St. Helens. It's not even worth in Japan. Of course, you know about the earthquake. You mentioned it yourself.
Yes, correct.
That produced the tsunami that killed so many.
Yes, and I don't know it for a fact, but I do believe, because part of it is, the main part would be warming the water temperature. So they try to do it underneath the ocean, try to get the volcanism to come up and warm the water temperature as well.
Wow.
But let me ask one question of you. You said these volcanoes, they're happening at once. They're rumbling at once.
Yes, rumbling and worse. Some are...
I was not aware of this.
That's Central America, South America. I could go on and on and on. They're expecting, I heard